Greetings and welcome to another video in which I want to talk about the question if Final Fantasy XIV is still worth playing in 2024. And if you watched last year's video, we talked primarily about some of the competing games or Final Fantasy's standout features on the MMO landscape. However, this time around we have lots of exciting events that will happen for the game in this year. First and foremost, Dawntrail, the game's new expansion, is just on the horizon, and new and old players can expect at least that amount of content and new features that Endwalker brought with. This expansion will feature 2 new jobs, the Viper and Pictomancer, and many new places to visit, dungeons to complete or raids to conquer. Therefore, let us talk a bit about catching up in Final Fantasy. Before everything else, you need to know that all of the game's endgame content is locked behind the main scenario quest, which leads the player through all the story events and plot the game has to offer. And even when I'm sounding like a broken record, this story alone is reason enough to play it. If you like single player Final Fantasies, you will love this one as well, as the plot is meticulously crafted to reach its climax in Shadowbringers and conclusion in Endwalker. I mean, just check out all the reactions of streamers and other players of the game tearing up when going through very emotional moments of the storyline. And as Dawntrail is just around the corner, as a newcomer you should definitely give it a try now, as there's so much content to be enjoyed and unlocked before the big hype takes flight with the upcoming expansion. And to be honest, most of the criticism about the game or people feeling bored with it mainly stems from players having cleared every little piece of substance, which then might lead to a feeling of emptiness, which you will definitely not experience when you have just started into the game. On the other hand, if you're absolutely here for gameplay and endgame alone, it might be a tough start for you, except you're buying MSQ skips from the Square Enix store. And if you don't want to buy a skip, and even when skipping all those cutscenes manually, you still have to progress through each and every dungeon, trial and suffer through lots and lots of running from NPC to NPC, area to area and world to world. So, in my honest opinion, if you cannot find a single glimpse of joy in playing through a beautiful tale of light and dark, this game might not click well with your playstyle, as Square Enix don't seem to plan changing this formula in the near future. But I have heard from many hardcore raiders or endgame enjoyers that they played the game for the past 6 years without watching a single cutscene or story dialogue. So if you're enjoying some very well designed raid fights and a great MMO battle system, Final Fantasy XIV might be worth spending some time in doing that massive MSQ. I mean, it is heavily inspired by World of Warcraft, which even the producer Naoki Yoshida admitted multiple times. Hence, it goes into a clearly different direction and works its class and job system into a combat with a very strategical and linear rotation system that offers much cooler visuals on spell effects and still more complexity than most other MMORPGs on the market. When you have seen videos about World of Warcraft's PvE complexity in Dragonflight and thought this must be the craziest stuff you have ever seen.
This part may vary based on your haste levels, but in general, 9 seconds before the pull starts, you want to cast Evocation so you can start stacking Siphon Storm. At around 3 seconds, you want to cast a Rune of Power into an Arcane Blast precast and Arcane Orb.
Final Fantasy takes this to another level, as there are literal 20-page long spreadsheets of rotations for certain raid encounters, and their ultimate raiding difficulty demands players to participate in fights that easily take 10 minutes of perfect concentration and focus, where a single mistake can cost the fight for your group. I guess when asking some WoW refugees or longtime Final Fantasy XIV raiders, the top end difficulty and raiding content of this game is the most challenging and rewarding raiding experience one can find in an MMORPG right now, especially as the Endwalker Ultimate raids are considered to be the hardest fights ever created. So if you're interested in world first or hardcore raiding, this game might be the pinnacle of the MMORPG landscape. But let us talk a bit about the community. While I'm always a bit hesitant to fully embrace the "this is the best community" term, I would like to take a more rational approach on this aspect, as the game is wonderfully created with multiple underlying features and aspects that make grouping up and enjoying time with others much more easy and pleasant. The massive housing features, being able to getting connected in eternal bond of marriage, or just having a crafting system that is able to provide lively ingredients, armor and housing items for the world we live in. But beyond all that, with your self-created character being able to take up each and every battle, crafting or gathering job, without ever demanding you to change that character to another one, you connect much more to the world instead of creating multiple twinks just for playing different classes. And I always felt that this is the right game to make content for, even though my total playtime of WoW might be 2 or 3 times as high. It's just much more immersive, and establishing connections to other players is way easier, with everyone being able to represent themselves with their character quite easily. One aspect, however, that is much different from any game I have played: the developer team is so relatable that the community even goes too far sometimes to defend their design decisions. But even here, when looking at the core of it, I've never seen a closer connection of community and developers than in this game. And I still feel super thankful to be part of it, and that Square Enix gifted the player base with the 2021 FanFest. This was truly one of the best events I have seen in gaming history. But yeah, back to the game, and why you should give it a try. There is so much armor and weapon pieces, especially when looking at relic weapons, that I've dedicated a whole branch of my channel just for that content alone. It's a massive branch of content and something you can spend hours after hours with, finding the perfect armor match for your outfit or the fitting weapon to squire your journey. That, combined with one if not the best crafting and gathering system I've ever seen in a game, will definitely attract those people interested in these kind of things. But for those that don't care, it is never a necessary thing to have, and you can easily play the game without dipping your toes into content like that. The player versus player department might be something they need to refine a bit more in the future, but they started a great overhaul in Endwalker that has lots of potential, and the community agreed this is the best PvP this game offered yet. If they improve the rewarding structure and matchmaking, as well as introducing some pre-made brackets, this might actually be awesome. It's not as responsive or direct as WoW PvP, but it's not bad either. Alright, last but not least, right now the game is offering a free trial that is not just your ordinary, hey, go and test the first 20 levels of a certain class and the game. It actually offers the whole base game of content plus 2 expansions, namely Heavensward and Stormblood, which are about 60 hours of playtime just for the story alone, and much more if you consider side content and activities. The best thing here, you can just play through all of that content for free and then start extending your trial account to a fully fledged subscription account. And quite frequently, Square Enix offers free login campaigns in which you can play for free for a certain amount of time again if you ever stop playing the game for a while, and if you just want to catch up with its events and content before the next big patch or expansion drops. And on top of that, the game is now also getting beta access for Xbox players. So it has finally reached the shores of a whole new console community, and maybe you have just waited for this to happen being an Xbox player by yourself. So what are you waiting for? Final Fantasy is an awesome game, and the only excuse I could see is that you still want Shadowbringers to be included in the free trial. Nonetheless, A Realm Reborn, Heavensward and Stormblood are amazing expansions already, so it might be worth a try and worth paying some extra if you like them and then want to enjoy my personal favorite expansion afterwards. Check out my free trial versus complete edition video to learn more about that topic, or visit my Getting Started in Final Fantasy XIV playlist if you need help with anything on your first steps into Eorzea. I'm looking forward to meet you there and wish you an amazing adventure. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy and keep loving Final Fantasy.